Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Four Ps podcast. You know, this week has been the last 7 days past has been a really interesting week. One thing is our book, Stories of Transgression and Recovery, has stayed and in the bestseller number one in Australia for the last week. It's still even writing right now as we speak, and it's overwhelming that book is it well it I knew it was going to do well based on the people who are in the book and the stories that we're sharing in the book. I want to say this real quick. Stories of transgression recovery. These are stories of men and women who have gone through addiction, trauma, sex trade, you name it, and they have come out on the other side so successful. A lot of the funds that we use and the proceeds that we get from the sale of the book, we are going to be giving to organizations to help. With recovery and to help fund them. As a matter of fact, we're working with a group out of Indiana right now called New Leaf, New Life, and they are helping people who get out of prison and incarceration. We're helping them go through, get the things they need so they can be successful and they don't have to go back. And that's one thing. One reason why the recidivism rate is so high is because when individuals get out of prison, there are the resources that is necessary to keep out of prison are not really there. And so groups like New Leaf, New Life, those are groups that we need to help and get them going. And like I said, the book right now is number one. It is unbelievable. And then another thing that happened this week, and I'm going to tell you, I am a Nissan Rogue fan. Back in 2021, I don't want to tell you the whole story, but I used to have a Hyundai Tucson, and am I dogging Hyundais? In my case, yes, I am. I had a 2019 Hyundai Tucson. It was part of this massive recall. Uh, Mine, along with hundreds of thousands of other Tucsons, I think it was Sonatas and other groups that were made from 2000 or 2011 till to I think it was like 2021 or something like that. Their engines blew. Massive recall they had, and mine was part of it. And my engine blew on Christmas Eve. So I said, "Hey, we are going to stay away from, even though they are beautiful cars, but we're going to stay away from them." And then I went to Nissan, and I used to have Nissans years ago. The very first car was a Nissan 200 SX. And I went back to Nissan. I bought a Rogue Sport, great car. They stopped making Rogue Sports in the United States. They still make them under a different nameplate. And I don't want to say the word, I forgot it. It's Kashi, I think it is, in other countries, Europe, Australia, and in Asia. They still make them. And they're really pretty cars. When I was in Australia, back in March, I saw them. I'm like, dude, why aren't you bringing these back here? Beautiful car. And so I traded that in, got a Rogue. I got one of the newer Rogues. I got a 23. Now you're like, dude, why are you getting another car now? Well, I drive a lot. You see this. I'm going to be in this place. I'm going to be in that place. You see it all the time on here. And I will tell you this right now. I'd rather drive than fly. And I love driving my own car because I have that level of control, whatever, you name it. So I ended up getting another Rogue. So I get this other Rogue. I went to a place, and yes, I'm giving them free advertisement right here, right now. I went to Fred Anderson Nissan here in Asheville, North Carolina. The people there are great. And this is not the first time I've been to Fred Anderson. I went for each car. All right. They're probably very happy that I drive my car as much as I do. Robbie Gentile was my salesperson. He is a great guy. He's from New York, not from Western New York where I'm from. He's also a Steelers fan, which kind of messes me up, but he's a good guy. I mean, it really does mess me up being a Steelers fan from New York. I do understand, and I do hope he gets the help he needs for that. But anyway, also the person who did all our paperwork, his name was DJ Tavaccio, and I hope I said his last name correctly. But anyway, while we were in there, I know that you hear me talk about movies all the time. Everybody knows one of my favorite movies is Rocky. My favorite movie of all times is Stripes. I love the movie Stripes. I can watch it day in and day out. But my second favorite movie of all time is Smokey and the Bandit. And Smokey and the Bandit is a fantastic movie. If you have not seen it, it has Jackie Gleason and it has Burt Reynolds. It also has Jerry Reed and it has Sally Field. All four of them do a great job in this movie. It is funny. I love it. I talked about Nissan, how much I love Nissan. The other car I love just as well, I loved, it's no longer made, is Pontiac. And the reason why I like Pontiac is because of this car right here. This is the Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am. This is a 77 Trans Am, and they call it the Bandit and all this other stuff. But I had an 87 Firebird, and it was black. And the reason why I had that 87 Firebird is because I wanted to be just like Smokey and the Bandit. Now, I will say this right now. 87 Firebirds were beautiful cars, and I thought my car was awesome, but to have a 77 Firebird is great. So anyway, I'm in DJ's office signing the paperwork, and I see this. I was like, where did you get this? And how can I find one? And you know what he did? He says he wheeled his chair over to where this car was, and he handed this to me. And I want to thank you, DJ, for this car, because it means so much to me, because this is a part of my childhood. This is absolutely a part of my childhood. It will be on this display. Now, I'm going to tell you, this display is getting a lot more full, and I am going to buy another bookshelf. So the next time you see this, we will have a bigger bookshelf, longer, a little bit out. So I don't know. You probably won't see my license plates like you used to, but hey, what can you do? But I do want to thank you, DJ. Robbie, I want to thank you too. I'm going to tell you right now, you are the reason. Both of you are the reason that I go back to Fred Anderson Nissan, and we'll keep on going back over and over and over again. You guys are really great. You guys do great work. And if you are in the Carolinas, period, you can go to Fred Anderson. This is like Fred Anderson, everything. They got Toyota. They got, I think they have Subaru. They got a whole bunch of them. But the only thing I'm really focused on is the Fred Anderson Nissan, because I'm a Nissan man all the way through. I love Nissans. So thank you very much, DJ. Thank you very much, Robbie, for your help. Thank you for the car. Like I said, once I get this, I mean, literally, we're going to have a new set probably next week, because I did order a brand new bookshelf that's bigger. I am still going to get the blue light and put the blue light in there, because I think that is awesome. You're still going to see my Canadian, American, and Australian flag, because those three countries are just phenomenal. It's a great alliance for sure. And you're going to see as many of the license plates as you can. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but we're going to work something out, and hopefully you get to continue to see my license plates, and that's the way it goes. But thank you guys again, and I appreciate it. Moving on, today's show is going to be talking about toxic relationships. You know, I'm reading all the time, and I have tons of friends who write and what have you. And I had a friend of mine who authored a great article on Substack and talks about toxic relationships. And in her talk about toxic relationships, I'm reading those, and it really touched me in a way that, you know, I'm like, I need to have you on the show, because we need to discuss toxic relationships. The greatest way to interfere with your purpose and with your plan and definitely with your passion is being in a toxic relationship and allowing that toxic relationship to control you. And it doesn't have to just be a romantic toxic relationship. It doesn't have to be that. It could be any toxic relationship in the world. I'm going to share at the end of this my toxic relationship that I had, and it wasn't with somebody I had it wasn't a romantic relationship at all. It was a relationship that was in a family, sort of in a family. I don't consider this person family, but it was in a family area, and it really did compel me to make decisions that, to be honest with you, as I look back now after all these years, I really didn't need to make. We're going to be back with Leetta Angel, and we're going to be talking about toxic relationships right after this.
Your story matters. Your voice deserves to be heard. At DNP, we bring your dream, purpose, and passion to life in print. Whether your manuscript is ready to go or just an idea waiting to unfold, we're here to guide you. With expert editing, stunning graphics, and the knowledge to make your book a reality, will help you share it with the world. From book festivals to signings, this is your moment. Let's turn your dream, purpose, and passion into print. Connect with us today and make your dream a reality.
Welcome back to the Four Piece Podcast. Today I have a very special friend, not a guest. This is a friend. She is not a guest. You ever have like somebody come to your house and you just tell them to go get their own crap out of the refrigerator because you know where it is? That is Leetta. Leetta Angel. I've known her now for decades. I can actually put decades on there.
Yep.
We are both in the education field. We have been friends for such a long time. We used to be a part of a group called the Underground,
Mhm.
where we would share music amongst people, and it was such a lot. It was a lot of fun. There are still some songs I listen to this day, and think about Lee and Leetta and all these other individuals that were part of the Underground. It was a great group, and you know what? All of those people that I know are still in my Facebook friend list. We may have to start that up again. You know that we may just have to do
Absolutely.
that. Yes, and just share. And there's a great story behind that, and I'm so glad that we are still great friends. Leetta wrote, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this real quick and then I'm going to go on. Leetta wrote a article and I read it and it really, um, it just compelled me to bring her on the podcast because I was going to talk about this on a future podcast. And when I read her article does more justice to what I wanted to talk about than me just talking about it. Leetta, welcome to the program, and thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. I
I,
appreciate being here.
I appreciate you being on here. You know, Leetta, you wrote it. I want you to explain. I want you to just talk to the audience real quick about the article you wrote, and then we'll start our conversation.
Oh, uh, well, that's kind of a bad thing because when I write it, I'm processing it and then it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've had a rough week.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I wanted to write about that was kind of processing my own emotions. When I started writing my Substack, it was really to figure out who I am now as opposed to who I've been for like my whole life. And I've always struggled with weight and had a little bit of a scare a couple of years ago. I got COVID and it almost killed me. I went into kidney failure
Mm,
and was in the hospital for a while and started getting really serious about what I wanted the rest of my life to be like. And started really looking at myself with a very honest lens about, why have I made these choices? What's been forcing that perspective in my life? And, when you're a kid, you want to blame everybody else. And I think I was finally ready to do the work to figure out why I've been like I've been. And I think that started with a toxic relationship that I had with my dad. And hindsight's 2020, and the decisions I made didn't really hurt anybody but me. But when I was chunky kid and very active, very very athletic, did all the sports things, all of the things, and my dad started being concerned about my weight,
mm-hmm.
and I was a kid. I was like, I don't care, going on, do my thing. But then as I got a little older, it got a little more intense. And I thought, dude, you think I'm a chunk now? I can show you how
Mm-hmm.
chunky I can be. So I started eating just everything that I could get my hands on. And in front of him, like, I would make it a point that he visually saw it like a challenge to him to say something to me. Come on, knock the chip off my shoulder. Let's do it. And He did. So we butted heads a lot. And he even went so far to make me go to like a what amounts to a fat camp. And I lost a lot of weight, down pretty much to what I am now.
Hmm.
And I looked terrible. My hair was all funky. I looked pale and drawn and just, I wasn't me.
Hmm.
And he wasn't satisfied with that. And I thought, well, that's it. I don't care anymore. And the damage was already done because by that time, eating became my emotional satisfaction
Okay.
because I didn't feel like he was really, happy with me. And he had his own issues. There were some challenges in my folks' marriage that I wasn't really aware of, but you're kind of aware of things.
Right.
And, it could have been just him really worried about my health because he had a grandmother who I'm actually named after that had some health problems due to her weight. And it was probably born out of that fatherly concern. And it might have also been a little bit, let's distract um, my mom from being mad at him for what he was doing that he shouldn't have been, and just focusing on doing the protective mom thing over me. And he's human, and we did the work before he died, and we were good. But when you're a kid, you don't have that
Right.
perspective. So I just thought he didn't like me. And even though he said he loved me, I knew you could love somebody and not like them because I loved him and I didn't like him at all. So it was like, we're just those people. And then I lost my daughter. She was stillborn when I was newly married. And, I completely lost my mind. So it was like, I don't even remember that year. But my dad was really there for me.
Hmm.
And he had lost my brother a couple of years before I was born. My brother was born and he didn't live but a few hours. So he knew how that felt. And I was willing to let him be there for me because, I was so forlorn. I didn't think I was going to live through it. So, I figure, we can be friends, I guess. And then when I was coming out of that grief and was pregnant with my daughter, um, my dad really took care of me.
Hmm.
And it was a very high risk pregnancy, and I was on bed rest for 7.5 weeks. And the baby was born 3.5 weeks early, weighed 9 pounds due to gestational diabetes, but, was still premature, still had the lung thing, and was in the NICU. And my dad was just so supportive. He took me to my appointments, he stayed with me. When I was on bed rest, he made my meals.
Wow.
He just was all over it and was really loving during that whole time. And, we understood each other a little better at that point. And he had a stroke um, about 10 years after that. And 3 years after that, he died with lung cancer. But
Wow.
we were good.
Okay.
So that was my first toxic relationship, was with my dad.
But it was a toxic relationship that over time it healed. Is that
Right.
accurate? Okay.
Uh,
Did
totally.
he ever did he ever bring anything up about the past, or did he just change his behavior?
Mm, he reiterated many times that I'm sorry about what I said about your weight, but it really was just because I cared and I
Okay.
didn't want to see you have these health problems.
So he was
But
kind of, oh, go ahead,
no,
please.
go ahead.
No, so he was in his own way. I mean, there's a generation of men back in the day that, you know what, I'm not going to say I'm sorry, but I am sorry. And it
Well,
sounds like that's what he was kind of.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that was kind of it. But that was his, I think he realized most of our problem was that we were very similar.
Okay.
And he had a fiery temper, but he was very charming.
Hmm.
When he went into a room, everybody gravitated toward him. When I was growing up, my girlfriends wanted to date him, and my guy friends wanted to be him.
Wow.
So he was a really powerful, manly
Absolutely.
man, you know. And my daughter adored him. Oh my
Mhm.
God, they were stuck up each other's butt. And, it was so wonderful and gratifying to see my dad love on my kid like he did.
Beautiful. So
So
now
I was glad.
your next toxic relationship that you were going to bring up, and I just wanted to go back on that. Go ahead and share that if you don't mind.
Um, hmm, well, it kind of started with the the guys that I like.
Hmm.
My dad had a very specific boy in mind for me, and it was not anything that I liked. He um, he hated guys with long hair, and he hated guys that were goofy.
Hmm.
So if I couldn't find one, I found the other. So the long hair thing got me into a little bit of trouble. There was a guy that went to high school with me, and I saw him a couple of years later, and he looked really good, not like he did in high school, and he had the long hair and everything.
Hmm.
And I decided I hadn't had any real kind of relationships because when you have the walls built around you like I do or
Right.
did, you don't get people who are normal. You get people who want to use you
Right.
for what you can give them.
Hmm.
And I was more trusting than I am now. And just got into this relationship. And I would rather not name him,
Okay.
but we I wrote letters like a fiend because there were no cell phones back then, and I got maybe one or two back, and ended up taking him to New Orleans and doing this trip that I paid for because I'm an idiot. And when I got there and got him out of his scene and into a place that was neutral for both of us, it was like a rude awakening. And I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? I
Right.
don't even know this guy,
Okay.
and he had a pretty sordid past, and I'm lucky that I got out of it. So when we got back, he smacked me during a car ride, actually. And, for all of my barriers and walls and problems, I'm not about to let some dude hit me.
No.
So I like pulled my car over because I was driving and threw his ass out and was like, "Get out, leave leave." And he's like, "Well, my stuff's in your car." And I like got the stuff and threw it out on the side of the road. And I had some piece of jewelry of his that fell out of a bag, and I threw it at his head and hit him. And sprayed him with gravel as I left. And that was the end of that. So,
Good.
second toxic relationship. And third one um, was another long-haired guy. Ended up marrying this one though, and we've been married for a long time, so it worked out. But there's still things that we have to check each other on.
Right.
because of just the ups and downs of any long-term married couple.
Hmm.
And he was much more willing to work on things than me.
Absolutely.
I I'm actually amazed we're still married. I didn't give him anything to work with after after I figured out that he had kind of conned me too. But, you know, it was one of those deals where you meet somebody and the first question I asked was, are you married? And he said he was divorced. And that was technically the truth. He was divorced from the first wife, but he failed to mention the second.
Oh yeah,
But
there you go. Yeah, you
yeah,
kind of yeah.
this is a great guy. I mean, he really is a great guy. He's just as screwed up as me, like we all are.
Hmm.
We all create toxic relationships with ourselves first, you know?
You know, it's funny that you should bring that up. I listened to your story. My story is a little similar. I did not have a, and I know that, my brother wrote a book about my father and this,
Hmm.
that, and the other, and you discussed my father in the book, and his story and his relationship with my father is extremely accurate from his account. Um, I had a different type of relationship with my father, but I don't want to say it was toxic. I do want to say
Hmm.
it was very dominant, and there was an alpha male in that group. And once I decided that I wanted to be the alpha male, somebody had to get the heck out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And so,
yeah,
you know, and but the one thing that did happen was, I looked at my father's way of life and thought that that's not the way of life. That's not the way life should be. And I tried to, and I think I created, and we were talking about this before, we even got on the air. I think I created a war that wasn't necessary.
mhm,
So my father told me about this girl, and she is, and I will tell you right now, she is still a friend of mine to this day. I'm not going to mention her name either. But and my father said this girl is not good for you. Okay? And the reason why she's not good for you, and he told me why. Okay? He told me exactly why this girl is not good for you, blah 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 blah. So this girl actually caused me to become the alpha male.
yeah,
Okay? And as a result, like I said, it was time for my father said, "Hey, it's time for you to go," and I left. So when I moved out of the house, I had it when I lived in the house. I had a beautiful Firebird. I had money because I didn't have
yeah,
any bills. Right?
yeah.
I
Oh,
had a
yeah.
Firebird. I had lots of disposable income. Blah 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 blah
Hmm.
blah. And when I moved out of the house. I had my Firebird for about 2 months and realized I can't afford the Firebird. And then once
Yeah.
I got out of the house, my insurance went to the roof. You got an 18-year-old kid with a 1987 Firebird formula. Yeah,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
we are yeah, you're in trouble.
Yep.
So as a result, I had to get rid of all that stuff. So I
Hmm.
went from Firebird, beautiful Firebird, to Toyota Tercel.
Yeah.
You talk about
Yep.
a downgrade. Now, Toyota Tercels are very reliable.
They are
Okay. And
a
they're,
lot
a matter
cheaper
of
on
fact,
insurance.
it's funny. They stopped making Toyota Tercels back in the early 90s. And here in North Carolina, I will probably see a Toyota Tercel once every 2 weeks,
Yeah, of
and you
course.
don't even hear it. I mean, they're still running. Okay, so they're
Hmm.
still out on the road. But anyway, when I pulled up into her driveway with that Toyota Tercel, it was only probably I traded in for the Toyota Tercel, and I even ended up saving more money because I did not have to pay for her dates anymore. She left me. Okay, so
Yep.
it was done, right? But it's funny how a toxic relationship or a relationship where we're trying to prove somebody wrong, it's almost funny that in our defiance, if you want to call it that, in our rebellion, if you want to call it that, in our um, um, I don't know, in that moment, we end up hurting ourselves
Yeah.
because we make decisions. Now, granted, the blanket decision that we get from somebody, ideally from our parents, sometimes the blanket "you shouldn't do this," the absolute. language that we get causes us as we get older, and this can go on into our 20s and stuff like that. It
Hmm.
causes us to like, oh, well, if you're going to be absolute, then I'm going to be absolute.
Yep.
And if you're going to say something extremely stupid, at least in my eyes, I'm going to do something extremely stupid.
Hmm.
And that's what, and you know, and that now, as I am a 54-year-old parent with grandchildren and stuff like that, I'm not saying that my kids, but I see my kids, even my kids, like, why did you do that? You know, because
Yeah.
again, I tend to say something absolute. And it's funny how when we become grandparents, because you just talked about your dad,
Yeah.
when we become grandparents, because we learned our lesson before, that's why our grandkids love us so much. You know, because now we're like, okay, this is how you're going to have to address this. You can't address it like you addressed it with your daughter. You know, you can't tell your grandkid the same thing you told your daughter, so you're going to have to tone it down a little bit. Blah 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 blah. Then all of a sudden, you're the
Yeah.
coolest kid in the world, right?
Right.
Um, your article does. I mean, and I know that you know, your article really, one thing it did was it talks about how, you know, how we can veer off, and how, you know, and I love how you talk about how you veer off because of toxic relationships, and how, to be honest with you, it really does affect the person who's trying to get out of that toxic relationship more than affects the person. I'm going to tell you, the guy that you threw gravel in his face,
Hmm.
you know what, I'm probably going to venture to say that he doesn't give a shit about that story.
Oh,
Doesn't
of
mean
course
anything
not.
for, no, that doesn't mean anything to him. Why? Because that's just the way he is,
Right.
you know. um but it does affect our purpose. It affects our way. In your because you have obviously done great things, you know, after those relationships, and even during those relationships. I see you giggling. Obviously, you have done great things. I know that. I've always admired and respected you and your, you know, your quests and all those other things, and even the things that you say and the way you are towards people. You're very caring. So it means, and so when I ask that, when I say that, I'm asking you, what would you tell someone who has done what you did, who's done what I did, and making those, how would you get them to, because they may right now be in that toxic relationship, okay? And they may now be in that relationship right now where they're willing to do something destructive and they don't know it's destructive, but they may be able to do, they may want to do something absolute to prove something. What would you say to that person to make sure that they make the right decision and don't make a decision out of spite?
Mm. I think the first thing I would say is, how is this healing? Because I think if I had asked myself those questions, you know, I would have started really cultivating a lot more self-love,
Mm-hmm.
because you get things in your brain, you get these ideas like, my dad giving me grief about my weight made me feel like I wasn't worthy of love.
Right.
And, the defiance and the fighting and the was, look at me,
Mm-hmm.
am I worthy? Look at what all I'm doing to try to get your attention here, you
Right.
know? And I think the first thing is, why do you want their attention? You are a complete whole being in and of yourself. You don't need all of that other stuff. If you know who you are, and if you can honestly say that you love yourself, if you love yourself, you're not going to do anything to damage that.
Absolutely.
And you've got to figure that out. You've got to figure out, why is this so attractive? Because it is, it's intoxicating.
Absolutely. You're right.
Just knowing that a guy with long hair would make my dad mad made me choose someone to spend time with and energy and love on, that wouldn't care if I was alive or dead,
You
you
know,
know?
it's funny that you say this. I will say this now. At 54 years old, I try to listen to this group and I hate them. I shouldn't say hate them. I don't hate them, but I just don't like their music. All right, I don't listen to them.
Yeah,
But back when I was a kid, my mom had a boyfriend, and I'm not going to, you know, talk about his name right now. But he
yeah.
could not stand this group, and because he could not stand this group,
You
I
loved them?
bought. every
Everything.
album from the group. The group's name, Duran Duran.
Oh, my heart, Trunnis, you're killing
Dude,
me.
I can't stand him. I was like, what are you? And I'm saying this right now. Don't sue me. I bought everything. I really did. And now if I hear it, I'm like, dude. And I'll say this to my wife or anybody. I turn that shit off, right? If it shows up, and it's so horrible. But I will tell you right now, it gave me joy,
Hmm.
more than enough joy, that I would go in my room when I
Yep.
was in Indiana, and I would
Crank it up.
blare that crap up, and I did call it crap. I know you like them, whatever,
Yeah, yeah.
but I will tell you this. I will say Duran Duran actually opened the door to other groups that I actually do like.
Oh, yeah.
The Cure,
Hmm.
Depeche Mode. I even to this day I love them, and I got
Yep.
it from just listening to. Oh, if it's not like we did not have YouTube back in the '80s where if you like this song, you're gonna like this song. No, it wasn't like
Hmm.
that. It's just like it just turned out that it's on the radio for this, and that's how I ended up getting it. But but yeah, I blared it. I blared it because I didn't. And now to this day, the guy, he's passed on. He's been dead for almost 40 years. And I will tell you right now, I mean, every time I listen to that, every time I hear that, every time I see them, I know exactly why. It was because it was strictly to piss him off,
Hmm.
and I bought everything. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And it
yeah.
was
Oh, yeah.
strictly to piss him off. And so I made Duran Duran a lot of money, just like every other teenager back in the '80s did.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, but I did it just to piss the guy off. And the funny thing is, and to this day, okay, there are only two Motown groups that are artists that I listen to. One is Rick James because my
Hmm.
dad's association with Rick James. So I listen to Rick
Right.
James all the time, and I know Rick James personally. I knew Rick James personally, so that's a little different story. And the
Yeah.
other is Gladys Knight because I think she has like a voice that's out of this world. But because he
Just so good.
loved Motown music, all
That
right,
was
I
it.
freaking no, I don't know. And even to this day, somebody's like, "Oh, this is the Temptations." I was like, "Man, I don't want to hear that crap." And
Yeah.
it's funny, and it goes right back to that whole situation with, this is real music. I was like, "Hey, real music," but
Yeah.
it is. But I mean, all music is real music. But still, I was just like, I'm pretty much done with it.
Hmm.
Are you a regular on Substack?
Yes. Yes, I am.
You
I have started to get back into it and made the decision I was going to write at least once a week in the late January of this year, and I haven't stopped.
Good. Well, I'm going to tell you right now that Substack really did. It did touch me. I think it is something where, if especially when we're talking about the four P's, we're talking about planning, purpose, or we're talking about purpose, planning, passion, and persistence. When we're
Yeah.
talking about that, if you are in a toxic relationship, you just heard two people. One who's a fantastic writer, you really are, and
Mhm.
and one is me, whatever. But you heard two people that because of toxic relationships, we actually lost our way. And we
Mhm.
lost our way and we did things that we did not want to do because we were trying to prove a point who really didn't give a shit. The
Yeah.
person who we were trying to prove a point to, they didn't really give a shit at all. And so don't do that. And that's the best thing. And I love what you said about, do you love yourself?
Mhm.
Ask yourself, is this going to be harmful? But the other thing is this: you need to really ask yourself, if I do this, does this person really give a shit?
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then don't do it, because
Yes.
all you're doing is you are wasting energy. And no, just don't do it. So
That's it.
fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much for being a part of this program. I
Thank
am
you.
going to put now. I can put. I got your Substack off Facebook, so I got it the easy way.
Hmm.
Do you have a Substack address or something like that when you contribute, or does it just come up and
Yes. I think it's just go to Substack and you can search the Leetta.
the Leetta?
Theleetta.
I am going to make sure that I have that link so you can get there easy. Because, like I said, I got mine the
Thank you.
easy way, so I'm going to make my audience get it the easy way too. Again,
Thank you.
it is read her work because and I love your knowledge. You are a very knowledgeable person. I know you said some way right in the back of the podcast that, oh, I'm such an idiot. You're not at all. You are
Oh,
one of the wisest people I know,
thank you.
and love that you are in my circle and a dear friend of mine. We will be
Thank you.
right back right after this.
The 4Ps of You, Expanded Edition by Trunnis Goggins, is a powerful guide to personal growth built on 4 foundational principles: purpose, planning, passion, and persistence. In this expanded edition, Goggins shares real stories of trials and tribulations, his own and those of others, to inspire readers to reflect, reset, and rise. With added insights and practical exercises, this book empowers you to navigate life's challenges, unlock your potential, and live with greater intention and impact. The 4Ps of You is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and worldwide wherever books are sold.
Welcome back to the 4Ps podcast. Extremely important interview. Something for you to think about. I want you to go back and reach back and see about how a toxic relationship messed you up. Okay. And the reason why I said why a toxic relationship messed you up, because that's what toxic relationships do. They mess you up. The toxic person's not messed up. They don't give a shit. All right. So don't even worry about that. That person is satisfied with what they have to get satisfied. They're satisfied with jacking up your life. Now, I will say this, that toxic person probably is a miserable person anyway. Okay. I am not going to share the name of this person who I had the toxic relationship with, but I was a young kid, I was a teenager. And this person, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't like that person. That person didn't like me. That's that, and I never gave this person a reason to like me. Never in my life did I give this person a reason to like me because I didn't like this person from the start. I remember forget our first conversation that we had. I was 13, 14, maybe. I was something like that, maybe 13, going to be 14. And I'm talking to this person, and this person asked me, what's my favorite sport? And I said hockey. I'll never forget this. This literally set the tone to our relationship. It was a conversation about hockey. It's like right off the bat, you don't like me for any reason. I said, he goes, what's your favorite sport? I said, hockey. He goes, hockey's a white man's sport. Who's your favorite player? I said, Grant Fuhr. Now, Grant Fuhr may sound like a white man's name. I'm going to tell you, I don't know a lot of brothers' name with the last name Fuhr. All right. But Grant Fuhr is one of the probably celebrated black goalies in the NHL. I think he is the only goalie that won more than 3 cups. I think he won 5 cups if I'm not mistaken. I literally over here, and you can't see it, I have his rookie card sitting up there. And Grant Fuhr is a black man. Okay. Now, right off the bat, I was like, this person doesn't even know what the hell they're talking about. I didn't say it like that. I don't know how I said it, but I mean, I knew at that point the guy didn't know what he was talking about. And at that point, it really did set the stage of a toxic relationship. And things just went downhill from there. It caused me to be a rebel. It caused me to do things I didn't even want to do. I just did them because I knew it pissed this man off. And as a result, it not only I look back at that and I said, there's things I could have done differently, but there's things that an individual could have done differently as well. Okay. And it almost not only, it totally destroyed the relationship I had with this person. I mean, I never had a relationship with this person, not a healthy one, not a decent one, but it almost hurt relationships around me. It almost hurt relationships around me. And it caused years later, it literally caused uh, um, situations that exist today. And so, what I want you to think about is I look back at that relationship. Now, I'll talk about this relationship again. You're going to see this relationship again. Don't ever think about it. I'm being very vague in this relationship right now, just for the mere fact for the show, because this show is absolutely about Leetta and her expertise. But I want you to think about what a toxic relationship is And have you put yourself in a situation where you are now jeopardizing your very future just because you're dealing with this person? Best thing to do, toxic relationship, cut it off. Cut it off. I don't care. Oh, it's going to hurt me if I cut it off because I really do like this person. No, cut it off. You have to be able to have a, or change it. You know, you may have a toxic relationship with your mother or father. I'm not saying cut your mother and father off. You should never do that. But you got to keep distance. You know what I mean? There's certain things that you can do that you can bring a level of control and not allow the toxicity to get in there. But yes, definitely, you're going to have to change that relationship. You're going to take control of that relationship, or you're going to tell that person, hey, if you're going to be like this, then we're not hanging. All right. And that there's nothing wrong with that. And so do that. And that'll be the best thing in the world for you to do. Next week, we have a great show. And you know what? To be honest with you, I say next week we have a great show because I really forgot who was going to be in the show. And I don't have it in front of me and I don't want to sit there and pull up my notes and stuff like that. I think that this segment that I recorded right now is good. I hope you liked it as well. I hope you did like the show. I will be talking to you next Tuesday. Have a great time. And by the way, speaking of toxic relationships, I am in a toxic relationship right now with the Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres. This whole week, you guys let me down. And you know what? I'm telling you right now, my Blue Jays, straighten up. You're down 0-2. Let's fix this. Talk to you next week. Have a great one. Bye-bye.